Welcome to day 8, the penultimate day of finals. Jen, welcome to day 8. So I know did you get to watch a lot of the races? Because I know that you're on vacation in Philadelphia.
I didn't. I was lucky enough to catch live the mixed medley.
Oh, that was a good
That
race.
we ended up walking into a bar like just in time right before it started.
Right.
So, but big shout out to Philly. Like there's a lot of swimming fans here. I was
Okay.
pretty impressed by like how many people in the bar were actually like knew what was going on and were excited about it. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, that's the only thing I got to watch today. I just saw the results on my phone because we were doing all of the things in Philly
Liberty
historically.
Bell, Independence
Independence
Hall.
Hall, Carpenter Hall. We went to the Revolutionary War Museum. We went to Benjamin Franklin's grave. We went to Betsy Ross's house. We literally did what most people do in like 2 weeks
Yes, and you did it all in 6 hours.
in about 5 hours.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
The only thing you probably missed was the Franklin Institute, which is kind of like a sciencey thing. If you ever get a
yeah,
chance to go out
yeah,
there,
we didn't get to
that's an
that.
all-day thing.
Yeah, we were gonna do that, but we did the Revolutionary War Museum was really, really good. So like that was the only museum that we went into. The rest of it was just kind of like walking and seeing things. So went to the oldest bar in Philly.
There
That
you
was
go.
number one, most important. So yeah, it was an eventful day.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yes,
Well,
go America.
it was an eventful day in Philadelphia for you. It was an eventful day in the water as well. We'll get
Yeah,
into it right now. So the men's 100 butterfly, there's not a lot to say there. Milok went in there like with an agenda.
yeah.
He got Mershon beat him out in the 200 butterfly. He was not going to allow that to happen, but yet he didn't get out very fast.
Hmm.
His underwaters were not very good. He was not first at the wall. He was not even close to first at the wall.
Really?
Yeah, he was probably, I mean, I'd have to go back and look again and see the splits that we have don't have them at the 50, but Liendo was ahead of him. And
Oh wow.
I would say he was probably fourth at the wall.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
when he got to the 75 mark, he was still not in the lead. He was gaining, but it wasn't until about 15 or 10 yards out that you could really say, okay, now he's going to take it. And if you look
yeah.
at the final results, 9/100ths of a second.
Wowza.
So
My feedback was gonna be like, yeah, Canada, like two on the medal stand. Haven't seen that in a while.
no,
That
I don't think
that was
Canada's
kind of
ever seen that
crazy.
in swimming.
Yeah,
But it
nuts.
could have been easily gold and bronze.
Yeah,
And with 25 to go, it could have been gold and silver because Milok
right.
really had to come. So if you envision what Mershon did to Milok and the 200 butterfly, that's exactly what Milok did to Liendo.
Wow.
And so
Yeah,
it was a great race to watch. And the power, just the overall power of those guys is just
yeah,
ridiculous. The 50 free and the 100 fly, if you just want to see absolute power, that's what you're going to see right there. So
yeah.
that was
Awesome.
pretty good. And I mean, it was kind of like, okay, this is what we expect. So we're on
Right.
the roll. We're getting what we expect. We go into the 50 freestyle for the women.
Yeah.
50 freestyle for the women was interesting to watch. It was a tale of two heats. And I heard Roddy Gaines say this. The first heat went off, and if you look at it, they didn't go very fast. They went 24-24 and 24-29 were their top qualifiers there. Or
I
24-23 and 23-24.
yeah.
And
Why do you think that happened?
I don't know, but the talent seemed to be in the second heat. It just, how we stack it. The fastest is in the second heat. The second fastest is the middle of the first heat, and you go back and forth. Just the way it stacked up, a lot more talent was in the second heat.
Yeah.
And Rowdy even said like there's going to be a lot of anxious individuals watching this next heat because that was not very fast. Now my wife was sitting there with my daughter, and we were looking like that looked pretty fast to us. I'm like, the time is not very fast. There's going to be at least a couple people underneath that, and it's going to push some people that came in third and fourth maybe out.
Yeah.
Then you get the second heat, and that's Sorenstam, and that's Walsh, and that's Shina Jack. You had all those people that were right there, and they kind of came through. And the two most impressive were the two that finished 1-2. Sorenstam got off the block very, very quickly. I think the reaction time was 0.6.
Oh wow.
Um, Yeah, she went 0.64. Gretchen Walsh was 0.74. So there's a tenth right there you're giving up. The underwaters, they come up, but as soon as Sorensen hit the top of the water, she crushed it.
Yeah, 23.66 Olympic record. That's amazing.
That's, and if, I mean, do it again, get another Olympic record. But she's only, if you look at it, she's only 5/100ths of a second off of her world record pace.
Yeah.
So she's 30 years old. She's as fast as she's ever was. She's looking great in the water. And I mean, she was just dominant. It just went straight forward. You weren't going to, nobody was really going to be there. What got me really excited was Gretchen Walsh, because she was side by side by an awful lot of people, and she snuck her hand in, and her finish is textbook. If you can go back and look at it, the way that she gets her hand up and onto the wall, because she has a very looping stroke.
Right.
Her arms are not a sprinter straightforward, get there.
Yeah,
and it's not a straight arm. It's kind of like a hybrid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
it's been a great race to watch. I'm excited to see what happens in finals, because again, Gretchen really isn't a 50 freestyler. Like, that's not her thing.
Right.
So for her to get her hand on the wall, that's awesome. And, see what she can do going into, finals tomorrow, the last day after all those races. So that's really good. I mean,
I think definitely she's going to be on the medal stand. If she swims the exact same, she'll be on the medal stand.
Yeah.
I think Sorensen is going to be the favorite going in. I mean, you just set the Olympic record. You should be pretty good. She's only swam the 100 and the 50. So she has plenty in the tank, but it's going to be a fun one to watch. And again, just watch the finishes, watch the underwaters, and the first two strokes on the breakout. If you're trying to learn how to do it right, watch those women. Okay. Yeah, so far we have men's 100 butterfly. Everything's going fine. 50 free. Everything's going fine. We get to the 100 IM, and this is going to be what we thought was going to be the race of the night. And it almost was. Yeah. It almost was the race of the night.
When you text messaged me and told me this, I thought you were lying. Like, I was like,
so where were you and what was going on?
We were actually walking into the graveyard where Ben Franklin was buried, and I literally saw your text on my Apple Watch. It was like, no way, not that.
So the text was Walsh DQs on back to breast turn.
And you know what? I think this is as a coach, this crossover turn. I have had numerous swimmers DQ'd for this exact thing on the crossover turn. And it is every coach's nightmare. It is every swimmer's nightmare who is good at a crossover turn, because experience wise, when you get really good at these and you get really fast at them, it is very easy to, and I hate using this term for those of you out there in the public, when we say, so the rule is you can't go past vertical, and even most average swimmers don't actually understand most of the time when we say that, what that means. But the best way to put it is you can't go on your stomach. And
there's tricks to that.
There's tricks to it. And, most people are like, well, when you watch a crossover turn, I don't understand, because you end up on your stomach. Yes, you do. But when you're reaching for the wall, you cannot have any part of your body that's past what they call vertical.
So vertical is this way. So I have my shoulder up and my shoulder down.
Right. Correct.
If this is my stomach, okay, I can be leaning this way and showing my stomach. I cannot be this way. And when she turned, she was like this.
Oh yeah, it was bad.
She was all.
Yeah, and I think the unfortunate part is that Kaylee McCowan, who ended up taking the bronze medal because she got DQ'd, she got DQ'd for the exact same thing at Worlds herself, and Walsh ended up getting the medal at Worlds because Callie was DQ'd for the exact same thing. So my heart breaks for her, because that was, her only race, her golden egg, and it just proves to people out there that, even the best of the best can have heartbreaking things that happen on the biggest stage in the world, that, you would think that they know better, but when you're in the middle of the race and you want it so bad, sometimes.
Well, there's a couple of stories I wanted to throw in here. Number one, my swimmers were so good at the crossover turn. I have several at practice that could turn without putting their hand on the wall.
Yeah.
They would get there and they're like, yeah, I didn't even touch the wall. Like
Yeah.
I can just turn. The idea of it is if I put my hand behind my ear and I look down, I want to be halfway down the wall, halfway into my turn on my side. So when my hand touches, I can just go over. And the
Right.
trick to it is you have to keep your arm behind your ear. So the first thing I watched on the video is where's her arm compared to her ear? It's behind, but she just
Yep.
rolled over onto her stomach just a little bit ahead of it. And it was, I mean, it would be considered an easy call. The
Yeah.
second thing I thought about is you have Orson, right? She's the backstroker for Canada who easily went past the 15-meter mark, and that official didn't call it. To
Yeah.
be at an Olympics and have enough nerve, especially Olympic final, to call it,
Yeah.
I'll give some credit to the official because I'm not sure I could be in that position and do that job, even though that's what they're supposed to do.
Agreed. And I mean, the fact of the matter is if you go back and watch Worlds, I mean, it's very blatant that it's not as blatant as it was now, but
Right.
at Worlds, it should have been DQ'd and she didn't get DQ'd, but Callie did. So, now it's the reversal of that. And probably just like you said, that official did not, who might have been, over, her lane at Worlds didn't want to make the call,
Right.
But again, unfortunately, those turns they get so fast, and just like you said, you get so used to that when you're in the moment, especially wanting a medal for the only race that you put all of your eggs in that basket.
Right.
It's very easy to do something like that whenever you just want it so bad. So
Yeah, the other thing that was really hard is they were focused in on her as she's swimming across the lane lines, and you can see her face when it DQs.
yeah,
And you can see Douglas's face when it DQs. And
both
then
of
they
them
get
were
to the
devastating.
stairs. And then they get to the stairs. And if you go upstairs, you're in the press.
Right.
And she shot away from it. She's like, I don't want to see. I give her a lot of credit for not just following the flow and then not wanting to answer questions and all. She went away and she said, I got to decompress from this. And
Yeah.
so I give Walsh an awful lot, Alex Walsh, an awful lot of credit there because that's really good. But my question to you is, so what do you do as a coach?
Yeah. And that's funny because that was the first thought in my head was like, how do you handle that with and again, I mean, I had a kid DQ'd like that in a 400 IM, yeah, in a heartbreaking meet. And I think the biggest thing is that you hug them, you cry with them, you let them get it out, you give them time. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm always very big on, you know, let them cry, let them get it out, tell them to go swim down,
Yes.
let them just get back in the pool and get it out. And, and then allow them to process it themselves. Because the thing is with her, like, I had seen a post that somebody said, I really hope that she understands this doesn't have to be the end.
Right. No, no, not at all.
She can come back with vengeance, and that this isn't the end of her career.
No,
And
she's young.
that
It's not
is
the end.
right. And that is probably the exact conversation that I would have
Right.
once about 2 hours has gone by.
Or in a sense, the swimmer comes over to you. If they come over to you, some at her level, she just gets in the warm down lane,
Yeah.
and she just
Yeah.
goes and she does what she needs to do. As a coach, I wouldn't approach her. I
No.
would be there where I can be seen and I can be approached.
Right.
Before they leave the evening, it would probably be like, "Are you okay? Like, let's have a conversation." But you don't force that conversation.
Correct.
And whenever I have younger swimmers who are feeling the exact same way she is, they're not on the same stage, but to them, it's really important. I've
Yeah.
had several where they've just come up with big eyes, crying and upset, and I just go warm down, go get
Yep.
calm. You come
Yep.
back and talk to me when you're ready to talk. It can take as long as you want.
Right.
And she's a good enough swimmer. She knows she can come back. She has medals at World. She has 4 years ahead to look forward to. She can get better, and hopefully this just lights another fire, rekindles, and it's not the way you want to go, but you're going to have to deal with it either way, and you might as well try to make it as positive as you can. Plus, you have your sister swimming on the relay that night. and I know that you want to be there for her as well. So
Yeah.
we need to get to that relay, but first we got to talk about the 800 freestyle.
I
Impressive. There were
mm,
two races. There
yeah.
were absolutely two different races, and you are absolutely nervous. And I'm going to give my wife some credit for what she says. And when you hear it, you'll be like, okay, Matt, she had you. Like, she had you big. So, anyways, it starts off, and it's basically Titmus and Ledecky,
Right.
stroke for stroke
Right.
for the entire 400, for the 500. We get to 550, okay? And at 550, Ledecky goes, I'm gone. And she
Yeah.
just took off. And by
Yeah.
the end of this, by the 600, she's a 3/4 of a body length. By the 650, she's a body length, and then she just maintains it. So I'm watching this, and I'm nervous. I'm up, I'm down. I'm up, I'm down. I'm walking, I'm pacing. My daughter's laughing at me. She's like, I can't believe you're going this crazy. I'm like, she's got to go now. I don't think she can get away. And she just had to go. And then we were coming back from the 650 to the 700, and Danielle goes, oh my goodness, there go, look what's happening. I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's talking about uh Madden coming in. She's like,
Yeah.
here comes Paige, go Paige. And it's the different race. Paige at the first 100 was like sixth.
Yeah.
She was behind, and she just started catching up, and she started catching up, and she started catching up. And so for like the last 150, Ledecky is gone. And I feel pretty confident with that. We're still cheering for her, but now it's like, come on, Paige. Come on,
Yeah.
Paige. Come on, Paige. And I wasn't watching it as closely. My wife's like, you got to watch Paige. Look at her go.
Young
And
guns. Young guns. Oh, yeah.
unbelievable how fast she went.
Yeah. And the so again, I didn't get to see that race, but then I saw afterwards the post that she started her best time pre-Olympics was 8:20.
Right.
And that was her best time. And she ended with what was her final time?
There's in the prelims, she goes 8:18:48. So she drops a second and a half.
Right.
So that puts her in a really good stead. She needed to do that. 8:22 gets you in. So she knows she needs to be right at her best time, but she won a best time. And
Yep.
then she goes 8:13 flat.
That's nuts.
5.48 seconds. She
At
drops.
semis. At semis, right? No, no, no.
No, that's semis to finals.
Yeah, yeah.
So she drops
So we
1.5
started at
seconds.
8:20 and we ended at 8:13.
So yeah, so you're talking over 7-second drop in two races.
That's insane.
Absolutely.
That is absolutely insane. And what makes the Olympics and swimming just fantastic. Like no one really had her on the radar. And
Right.
now we got a bronze medalist out of her and she dropped that much time. Like
Right.
it's awesome. And to be in the same heat with Ledecky, that like to watch another American coming in the wings that's able to medal with those two very amazing distance swimmers
Right.
is awesome. So
I mean, you're swimming against two of the best ever.
yeah.
And they're going head to head on their own battle. That's race number one. You're just trying to win race number two. And she almost had, with a 50 to go, with a 25 to go, she stroke for stroke with Titmus. And then just kind of pulls away from her a little bit as she gets tired. The crazy part is that the Italian, she dropped another 6 seconds to come in fourth. So they were racing. I mean, the Italian was out ahead of her, and then Madden came up and passed her. So here's the other thing. You're talking about, okay, here she is finishing with Ledecky. The torch is it's not going to be handed over because we still have 4 years and Ledecky's coming back. But you're starting to see that. So
Yeah.
she finishes and she's crying in the water. She's
Right.
tearing up and crying in the water, all this kind of stuff. And absolutely, she gets out. She can't believe it. It's all this. And then I'm on Facebook and I see a meme come up and I'm like, you've got to be joking me. So I grab my phone, I get on Peacock, I go down to the award ceremony, I pull my wife and my daughter, I'm like, you've got to see this. And what basically happens at the award ceremony is Madden gets up, then Titmus gets up, and then Ledecky gets up. And right before they play the national anthem, Ledecky grabs Madden and says, come here, and puts her arm around her, and they watch the national anthem together and just you get, and my daughter goes, Madden's crying. I'm like, yeah, she's been crying ever since she finished that race. This is a dream come true. So now you have the best female swimmer of all time grabs you and says, come on the top with me. Let's enjoy the national anthem together. I'm tearing up. My daughter's like crying, like tearing up, and it was like emotional. And that's how cool Ledecky is. She
Yeah.
understands the moment, and she says, "If you're with me, we're
Yeah.
teammates. We're distance girls together. We just got a gold and a bronze. Let's stand together and let's." And they sang the national anthem together. And then when
Yeah.
it was over, it was just tears
Uh,
on the mat. You got to
uh,
go back and watch it. It was absolutely phenomenal. What a
yeah,
moment.
for sure I will. So last but not least, this was awesome.
All right, why
Like,
don't you take the lead since you saw this one?
yeah, this is near and dear to my heart because in when I was still a part of Georgia Swimming before I switched to South Carolina,
Raider.
we started bringing in the mixed relays.
Right, exactly.
And at the beginning of it, everybody was kind of really like suspectful of it, that they're like, I don't know if it's like a thing, right? And then like all of a sudden, oh yeah, guess what? It's an Olympic event now.
Yeah, so
And
it went from
I,
Worlds, and they enjoyed it at Worlds, so they brought it to the Olympics this time.
yeah, and I was probably out of the entire Olympics most excited for this because I felt like it was like the best of the best. Who's going to load their guns? Who's going to be able
Right.
to pull this off in the right? It's so hard to figure out who's doing what when you don't know who's doing what, and you're dealing with a male to a female, and like,
Well, okay, so
so
one thing that came out of this is there's two different basic platforms we had. Two male lead off with two males and finish with two females, or female, male, male, female. Is
yeah,
that's the only way that that was the only formats used in the finals.
yep, yeah. And number one, I was super impressed to begin with that USA went with who they went with in the order they went with.
Why?
You know, I was impressed by it because I loved that they gave Tori Husk that
Freestyle.
last 100, that they put her on the line. I mean, let's be honest. I don't know many people that would want to be in that situation.
Right. That's tough.
If you, as, and especially as a female,
Right.
because holy crap, you go and walk up there and realize that you're swimming a male,
Right.
right? Like, so I loved that they put Tori there because I think everyone knew she was going to be like,
She's the gamer.
yeah, that she was going to be like, I will kill myself to make sure that, like, if I cannot physically get out of this pool, we will be winning a gold right now.
Right.
So it was so exciting. I was very surprised that it was really us and China most of the way. Like, I thought Australia was going
Well,
to.
Australia came back in the fly.
They did, but the first, 200s, like, I thought they were going to be around us at
Right.
least, and they were pretty far back. So,
But I mean, to put yourself in their position, McEwen is going to be there. She's going to be their backstroker.
yeah.
And then you have a breaststroke, and then you have the butterfly, and the butterfly are almost caught up. Walsh was ahead by 15 meters whenever he hit the water, and she was ahead by like 3 meters, maybe 2 or 3 meters at the end of the 100. So he did his job.
Yeah.
But it was the other swimmers on our relay that really took off and did an extraordinary job.
I mean, and again, Murph, he did awesome. Like,
well, let's look at this. Let's look at the splits real quick.
Yeah.
So Murph goes out. Okay. His best time in the 100 backstroke, and when you can compare 100 backstroke to 100 backstroke, he swam it 3 times. His fastest time was 52:39 at the Olympics. He led off the relay in 52:08.
Yeah.
So he drops 31 hundredths of a second. Then you get
really something to people.
Yeah. So then you get Fink. His best time is 59:05 during the 100. Now you're talking about a relay takeoff compared, and usually a relay takeoff depending on who it is, 0.4 and 0.6 seconds, usually around 0.6 seconds, right? He went 58:08. He dropped almost a second.
Yeah.
So they got way out ahead, farther than anybody was going to think. Just think, okay, if they go the same time, so that would put Murph at 52:39, so plus 0.3. And then you put Fink at plus 0.4. That's almost a second. Now Australia's pushing off the exact same time as Tori Husk. Right. Then you go to Walsh, and she's 55:18. Her best time flat start was 55.63. So she's right at her best. She
Yeah,
doesn't have a flaw at all. And then Huss comes in. She went 51.88. Her best time was 52.2. At
that's
the end of a
nuts.
lot of sessions,
Yeah,
she's right at her best time because she had an unbelievable start.
yeah. I mean, it was awesome, and I think after it was exactly what Team USA needed
Yes.
after the women's 2 a.m. Like I felt like that kind of wiped away what happened
Yeah.
because getting to see just two males and two females that really led a lot of the momentum through the week was awesome to watch them all four be together and take that like superpower that they
Yeah.
had. It was amazing. So I mean, that was such a good like end to the day.
If you want to see a good clip, go back and watch Peacock because they get a picture of Ledecky watching. I think she had just gotten her award and she's watching and she's just like, "Let's go!" You know what I mean? Like she's cheering
Yeah.
them on.
Uh,
Everybody was excited. It was really good.
awesome. Awesome.
All
So
right, so
tomorrow, what do
tomorrow,
we left? Last day.
last day, there's no prelim. So even though I know you want to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, oh wait, what time is your flight?
We're leaving at 4:30.
So you'll be up anyways. Too bad there's not swimming for you to watch on the ride over. So there's
Yeah.
no prelims. It's all finals. Okay.
Yeah.
So what we have is we have the women's 50 free to start. Then we have the men's mile. 50 free should be pretty good. Like we said before, I think that it's going to be pretty much Sorenstam's going to win it. I mean, unless she does something that she's not supposed to do, I think Gretchen comes in second. I could
Yeah.
see Gretchen being right there at the finish. I really don't think anybody else is going to be there. It's going to be close. So you have the 50 free, then you have Bobby Fink in the mile. So we'll see if he can get ahead and what he can do on the last 50. And then we have a break, and then we have the men's and women's 400 medley relay. Can't wait for that. It's going to be absolutely exciting
It is
to watch.
gonna be one big finish. So I mean,
Well,
we
here's one thing to watch.
oh boy.
So you talked to me right before we came on. You were talking about medal count.
Yeah.
So we have the most swimming medals. That's not going to be touched. But for the first time, it looks as though Australia might have more gold medals. I believe they have 7 and we have 6.
Correct. It's one medal.
It's so again, you have relays. It looks as though unless something changes in the 50 free, I'm not sure we're going to get gold there. Bobby
Yeah.
Fink could get gold in the mile. If he gets gold in the mile, now we're even going into the relays, and it's going to be the men's and women's Australia versus United States. If any of them get gold, they win the gold medal count, and we know in Australia all they care about is the gold.
Yeah, well, so let me give you this statistic too before we go because I think it's important to actually acknowledge not just swimming, but because we're, headed towards the end of the Olympics until we go to Paralympics. And so right now, as we sit, China has 16 golds. We have 14 golds.
Right.
France has 12 and Australia has 12. So we're sitting second right now, like overall, from a gold perspective. But here's the crazy part when you say about swimming that, Australia has one more gold than we do. But then if you look at silver medals,
Right.
it's insane. Ready? But here's the insane part of the overall medal count. China has 12 silver medals. We have 24.
Gee whiz.
France has 14. Australia has 8.
Right.
Bronze, we've got 23 medals. China
Wow.
only has 9.
Right.
And France has 15. Australia has 7. So here's the kicker. Closest one to us is France, the home country,
Right.
with 41 medals overall. We are sitting at 61.
Right. And we have 7 days to go.
20 more medals than any other country right now.
Right. And we just started track and field where we're going to load up.
Correct. So I definitely would advise everybody to make sure you're watching the other games. Got to give a shout out to the U.S. women's national team because,
Yes.
my heart's there. They're going into semis. They, won in extra time today. Tierney Radman got the goal with her pink hair that I love.
Okay, if you want to see amazing first touch, watch that soccer match.
Yes.
She just controls it out of out of the air.
So we have Germany coming. That's always a big that's a big
That's one of the big
rivalry.
ones.
That's on Tuesday. Like you said, we've got track and field coming. So there,
And
I
we
mean,
still have the individuals on gymnastics
yep,
coming
yep.
up. So you have that. And then for me, wrestling starts up right now. So we finish swimming, and then I can go watch the freestyle wrestlers and the Greco-Roman. Greco-Roman's a little bit more boring. It's just kind of shoving around. Freestyle wrestling's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
You and I can talk about that, but we only have one more time for the podcast. Next time we're going to wrap up the finals and overall what our thoughts were about the swimming section. Should be a lot of fun. I can't
definitely.
wait, and hopefully we win the gold medal count tomorrow in swimming.
Yes, fingers crossed, knock on wood.
All right, well, safe travels. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, bye.
Bye.